We got our allocation. We're working through our allocation. We're happy with our allocation based on the recessionary times that we live in. And within, as Liam says, within the last month or so, we got supplementary funding for preparation for Berlin for our main impact athletes, and indeed we got further supplementary funding for our Eurocross preparations in terms of athletes who are abroad or need some funding. So, in fact, in terms of performance, Sports Council have been very proactive, they've been very supportive, and they've been very understanding of each and every situation that was put to them. And this is in line with the history of the link between the Sports Council and ourselves, particularly in recent years. And you know, as I say, in the times that we're living in, to get the support that we're getting, we're appreciative of it. And of course, there are impacts on us that we need to deliver, but they tend to be supportive, they tend to be proactive, and they tend to be there to listen if we've got a special project case, and that continues.
Can I just go back?
I'm not clear if the funding has been reinstated to the original way in which we're funded. What you seem to be saying is none of the issues which actually caused the change in the way you were being funded have actually been resolved, that you just made a case that this drip feed wasn't in athletes' interests. Am I right in saying that it hasn't actually been reinstated?
Deputy, we went through logically with the Sports Council the difficulties this was posing for us in not getting our full allocation in terms operationally working right through to the end of the year. They listened to that. It took a little bit of time. Of course, it's widely known they did they were only feeding us drip feeding originally. Now, we actually were aware that this was actually going to be the situation that forewarned us. They wanted to have discussions with us. They have done this before to various other bodies when they felt themselves, and I suppose that is their prerogative. They feel there are issues. Quite clearly, they would have seen things out in the public domain themselves, and they were entitled to ask questions.
In the public domain, were they actually involved in those issues? I mean, all the reports we have are that the Sports Council were involved in these issues, very central to them, in fact, very hands-on in a way that one would not have thought was the norm, well, certainly.
Well, to the Chair, I mean, whatever the situation might be, these were internal issues, quite clear internal issues for us that we had identified ourselves. And once the issues, unfortunately, when this thing started off initially, lots of other things started coming out, which is unfortunate. There was a core issue that happened, and we were trying to address it, and all sorts of other issues started coming out because of leaks and various other things, and the drip feed of information that perhaps was coming out that we were unable to keep internally ourselves. And things then just went at a certain stage and became very, very complex, the whole situation. And one of the things which was mentioned there, which is unfortunate, that the whole question of why we did not go into, say, arbitration, the Federation of Irish Sport, which at the particular time, to be quite honest, it nearly happened before we were even aware of it, that the whole question went legal, and we let it slip for a little while ourselves. And I deeply regret that as president of the organisation, that we allowed it to happen. But once it did happen, we couldn't really stop the process at that stage. We were more than conscious of this, and we're seriously conscious of any funding for whatever, and it is our own funds, and there are various things that we accumulate, that any funding would be not going to the general running of the sport. Quite clearly, we need to learn, and we will learn quite a lot from this process, and that's a clear direction that we should go in the future. I know it's a relatively new process that the Federation of Irish Sport, and I've actually spoken to the CEO of the Federation of Irish Sport about this possibility, but I think we just are where we are at the moment. We are working we're working tirelessly to try and resolve it as quickly as we possibly can, and we do expect to get a fairly quick resolution to the
just on the funding issue, if I could. and I accept what you're saying about the timing of the legal case and so on, but in reports in the paper, I think in this last week, indicate that the CEO is negotiating her way out. Is that going to cost, have you any idea yet what that is going to cost? Is that in fact the truth, or is it still very much up in the air? But I mean, is there huge sums of money yet to be spent?
Yeah. The only thing I say, Chair, is that Mary Coughlin is still the CEO of Athletics Ireland and will continue, has a contract with us.
Does she have your support?
She's the CEO of Athletics Ireland, and we're working through it. And she has quite clearly has been doing some substantial work for us from the time that she was appointed. And there have been and there are issues that we are working through, but Mary Coughlin is still the CEO of Athletics Ireland.
Doesn't have your support anymore. Is that correct? I'm drawing that from your answer.
No. The only thing through the Chair is that I can only read what the board position is and what the position is, that Mary Coughlin is still the CEO of it.
What is the board position, as a matter of interest?
But the board position
does she have the support of the board?
I'm not at liberty to give details of what the board have actually, what the board is, but it's and again, I don't wish to be difficult in this, because these are difficult times for us as well, and we are working through these processes in conjunction with everybody. And everybody is actually part of the process that we're actually currently going through, and it can be difficult when there are legal constraints out there, which seems that we might be prevaricating, and this is quite difficult. We want to be as open and as honest as we possibly can, and people might. Our interest is purely the sport of athletics, and that is the aim.
I think you should understand, Ms. Hennessy, from our perspective as a Dáil Joint Committee, we are talking about public funding, as I think Deputy Mitchell pointed out in our opening remarks, and our duty as elected representatives is to ensure that public money is best spent. Can I just ask you, in relation to what Deputy Upton, she asked a question in relation to the CEO. You have clarified that you as a board did not ask her to be present today, which has been unusual, because all of the presentations that we've encountered here, the CEO has been the lead speaker, if I put it that way, right? And it seems a bit unusual that she's not here today. Can I ask you a direct question as to why she's not here? And it might lead to what Deputy Mitchell asked you. Does the CEO enjoy the support of the board at present?
She's not invited here today. It's not. You told us she was on holidays through the chair, and then you said she wasn't invited. Now, set aside the holidays story, because that's totally irrelevant. The question is, why was she not invited to be here today?
Well, the board left the decision of the composition of it was discussed at a recent board meeting in terms of how we would approach this our duty to come and present ourselves to this committee, and the composition of the group was decided on that particular basis. Originally, when we got a request, Mary was actually on holidays for a couple of weeks, actually, at the particular when the original request, but that's probably beside the point. As I say, we are going through a particular process, and I can't really go into the actual details of the process, because due to legal constraints.
It's an absolutely, with due respect, President, to you, it's an absolutely extraordinary situation that the board of an organisation would not choose to invite the Chief Executive Officer. You tell us that she is still the Chief Executive Officer. So we would like to know why she was not invited. It's very strange that a board would meet and would decide as a board that the Chief Executive Officer was not asked to come to an Oireachtas committee to account for, and because she will be the person, ultimately the accounting officer, I think it would be fair to say, for Athletics Ireland. So why would the board make that decision?
Well,